It's Sunday morning on CBS. And here again is Charles Kuralt.
Do not be anxious now, all you devotees of Roger Welch. Our poet of the plains will continue to send us postcards from Nebraska, just as faithfully as he has in the past. We could not do without him. But we thought it would be fun to have words and pictures from a different part of the American landscape as well. From the north and east, say, where schooners sail and foghorns sound, and the coast is raveled by the sea. Who could show us around such a pretty place as that? Well, Tim Sample could. Tim Sample is a down east author and humorist who calls people by their first names from Kittery to Caribou. And he has sent us his first postcard from Maine.
This is my hometown, Booth Bay Harbor, Maine. I went to kindergarten and graduated from high school with the same 40 or so kids here. I had my tonsils extracted at St. Andrew's Hospital across the bay. And when I was a kid, there was nothing better than paddling a skiff around this inner harbor. Summers, I worked here at Sample Shipyard. Now, in those days, my stepfather ran the place, and I spent most of my time swabbing decks, pumping out bilges, and scraping the bottoms of ships like these. Now, you might not think a shipyard is a place that you'd find a lot of humor, but you'd be surprised.
Here's Sample Shipyard coming up on the right.
You see, our humor springs from our philosophy, which in turn is rooted in the rugged geography of the region. We're located in the upper right-hand corner of the nation, sort of like a thumb hitching a ride out to sea. The people I rubbed elbows with down here on the docks became my boyhood heroes. They were old-timers with names like Mace Carter, Newt Newell, and Theo Macaulay. Tough, hard-bitten seafaring men with a sense of humor that was built in, not added on. Men who knew that of all the dangers they faced in this life, none was as deadly as the temptation to take yourself too seriously. Now, those men are long gone, but here in Maine, history tends to repeat itself.
How'd you do today?
Well, slow.
Take Pop Durfee's son, Lawrence.
Hasn't been a big season, though, I've heard.
No, it hasn't been a big season, but, you know, as you look at it, you can't complain, because sooner or later it'll get better.
Yeah. So you never get the urge to pack it in and do something else for a living?
No, never get the urge. You get the urge to get up and go in the morning. That's what you get.
When I was growing up, Pop Durfee was a legend in these parts.
My father was a good fisherman. He knew this harbor well.
Although he has plenty of the modern wire traps, Lawrence has his own reasons for being partial to the old-fashioned wooden ones.
Here's some traps my father built. These are oldies, but goodies. He calls them Pop Durfee super traps. They're supers, he says. It's a lot different than a lot of other jobs, but if you look around, just look around you. You know, you get paid just by being here. The beauty of the water being on the water, the feel. There's no other place to be for me, Maine.
Well, it's pretty clear that some things haven't changed a bit since the old days. In those days, as well as now, Booth Bay Harbor was a favored destination for the rich and famous. Movie stars, television personalities, writers, artists, and tycoons all made regular visits. But the best of them were no match for the boys at the yard, who had elevated puncturing pomposity to the level of an Olympic event. Whoa! How to port, Bert? I remember a classic encounter that happened right here at the shipyard. A sleek motor sailor had just eased into the dock. She was out of Long Island, New York, and the captain was decked out in full yachting regalia. Well, he couldn't help noticing that one of the boys in the yard was admiring his vessel from the catwalk. Well, as he sauntered up the ramp, he just had to blow his own horn a little bit. Pretty sharp looking, he said. "Yeah," the fellow replied. "I imagine that's the sort of boat God would have had built if he'd had the money."
First thing in the morning, right? You get up, you have your coffee. When you get out and you got to look in that barrel of pogies, is that a tough part of the day?
Tough part? Oh, yeah. It's always a tough part looking down that barrel. The very first time I looked down in a barrel of pogies, I said, what is this? What have I got myself into now? That's about it. My father just told me, he said, just stay right there, he said, and you'll be all right.
You see, folks in Maine have recognized for a long time that a healthy sense of humor is a powerful ally. It lubricates the gears when your workday starts before dawn. And it's a secret weapon which levels the playing field against the most vaunted opponent. And then, of course, as Lawrence Durfee has already learned, there are those times when you just gotta stay right there and you'll be all right.